Hi, my beautiful friends. Welcome to my channel. And if you are new here, then I am really glad that you clicked on this video. Like really. Let me ask you something. When's the last time you found yourself silent in English? Not because you didn't know how to say it, no, but because you were too scared to speak? Worried that someone is going to laugh at your accent or worse? Worried that you might just say something wrong? Worried that you will be judged, even if it's just a little? If that describes you, then know this: you are not alone. I felt that way too. So do thousands of other students. But today I want to talk about something that could potentially change that. We are going to discuss one of the greatest secrets to speaking good English. It's not grammar. It's not vocabulary. It's not precisely the correct pronunciation. It's something far simpler and far stronger. It's this: speak naturally, not perfectly. Because guess what? Perfection is not the goal. Confidence is. Connection is. When you speak with that kind of comfort, when you feel free and joyful in your English, people pay attention, people understand, and you start having fun with the language. So take a deep breath. Make yourself comfortable. This isn't a lesson. This is a conversation, from one learner to another. And if you stick with me till the end, I promise, something will change inside you. Let's go deep together. So let's see how you can communicate in English the natural way. The way that's natural, honest, naive, and really just yours. Ready? Let's begin. Chapter 1. I used to wait, pulling out the perfect words, and it kept me without voice. Let me tell you the truth. At first, I didn't really speak English. Not because I was struggling for the words, not because I didn't want to. I kept my mouth shut because I was always waiting for the perfect sentence. I'd sit with my notebook and write long, beautiful phrases that I saw in books or on English websites. I would underline new words and copy grammar patterns. And I have been telling myself, when I know more, I will speak. But that day never came, since every time I tried to open my mouth to say something, my head would prevent me. It would read, "That's not right. That's not the right way. You need a better word." And guess what? I didn't say anything at all. I merely smiled, nodded, and said nothing. This went on for a long time. I was always almost ready. But almost ready is the same as never starting. I figured if only I could talk like the YouTubers I watched, or sound like the people in the movies, then I would finally be confident. But the reality is, nobody starts at that level. Nobody starts off strong. Many take small, fragile baby steps, and I was too afraid to use even those. Let me tell you how it felt, and see if you can relate. I'd be with a group, whether in class or an online chat. Someone would ask, "Tell us about your day," and my mind would go crazy. I'd be like, do I say I go or I went? Is it to or in the market? How about if I say something wrong? What if they laugh? So I said nothing. And every time I held my tongue, I felt smaller on the inside. I felt as though my English wasn't mine. It belonged to a world of rules and corrections and big words I hadn't learnt yet. But then, one day, it did. I was online, messaging someone. Just a language partner, no big deal. I was nervous, as usual. my fingertips hovering over the keyboard. I had written something and then erased it, he said. I kept thinking, oh, that's not how it is. That word is too simple. This grammar might be wrong. Finally, I got tired, really tired, and I wrote one teeny sentence. I go walk today. That's it. I knew it wasn't perfect. I sensed it was bad grammar. But there was something in me that said, just send it. Let it go. So I did. And you know what happened? That's sweet. To which the person offered up, heck change listener Pakistan. That's nice. Did you enjoy your walk? And then we were talking. That was it. I felt seen. That moment was my initial spike. I felt like anything was possible. I learned that understanding is the most important form of perfection, because natural, human speaking can break more barriers than perfect silence. From that day, I began to speak more. A few words, basic words, true words. Note: today I have had a quite peculiar experience with my street perambulation. I say, I saw a funny dog today. He was wearing sunglasses. Which one created more smiles? I started relinquishing all that pressure. I didn't sweat my verbs being 100% accurate. I didn't mind sounding different. I focused on being real. And you know the weird thing about it is, the simpler I explained things, the more people resonated with me. They were not attending to hear if I was perfect. They were attending because I was there. Then I had my native English. I tell you this because I don't want you wasting your life like I did, waiting for that perfect sentence. You will speak more quickly if you start speaking sooner, even if you make a few small errors. Think of it like this. When a baby learns to talk, does the baby wait until they know grammar? Of course not. They say, me want water, or dog run fast. It's not pretty, but it's potent. It's honest. And above all, it's about talking to one another. Then, the next time you want to talk in English, don't sit around waiting for the big words. Start with what you know, even if all he can manage to say is, I eat rice today. My day was good. I love music. These are not just sentences. They are doors. Each one you say unlocks a little more confidence within you, and gradually, that voice will begin to form. So my advice to you, coming from someone who waited too long, is this. Don't wait for the right words. Work with the words you have, and because the only wrong thing is saying nothing. The journey is just starting. Let's stay the course. Chapter 2. I learnt to love my mistakes. I want to tell you one thing very honestly. One thing which totally changed my English journey. I used to loathe screwing up. I really did. Every time I misspoke, I felt small inside. I felt like I had failed. I'd blush, my heart would race, and I'd wonder why I couldn't just disappear. Why? Because I believed errors meant I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't ready to speak, that perhaps I just wasn't designed for English. But I was wrong. I see something powerful when I look back now. Mistakes were my best teachers. Here's a story for you. Once I was in a group chat one day with a few kind people from different countries. We were just having the same conversation, the mundane day-to-day stuff. and I wrote this. Yesterday, I went shopping. So I felt really embarrassed as soon as I sent that. My brain just screamed, "No, that's wrong. Why did you write that?" I expected someone to laugh, or at least correct me in a rude way. But guess what? Some just said, "Oh, that's great. By the way, we say, 'Yesterday I went shopping.'" Just like that. So soft, so gentle, no judgment, just help. And I felt something strange happening inside me. I didn't feel bad. I felt excited. I smiled. I wrote back, "Oh, thank you. Past tense is confusing to my candidate, and I never know what to tell them about past tense." And they said, "No worries. You're doing really well. Keep going." That small instant changed everything. I learned that mistakes aren't something to flee from. They are little lights that are showing you where you need to grow. Each time I misspoke and someone corrected me, I learned something more, and I remembered it much better simply because, well, it was part of a real conversation. That was the day I locked pupils with God and began to think differently. I was afraid to talk before. I'd draw and think and not make a mistake. But now, I speak first. I let the mistake happen. And I listen. Because every mistake is a gateway to better English. Here's another story for you. I was attempting to describe something to my friend using English. I want to say my stomach hurts, but I don't know the words for it. So I go, my belly is angry. Yes, my belly is angry. And you know what? My friend laughed so hard. And then they said, "Oh, that's so cute." In English, we say, "My stomach hurts, but I love your version." That was a moment that made me laugh, too. And I never forget that sentence to this day. Why? Because it was born from a real moment, a real sensation, and a real screw-up. And that's the point. Mistakes are not failures. They are evidence that you're trying. If you don't make a mistake, you are not saying anything. You are staying silent, and silence doesn't teach you anything. So rather than try to hide failure, I began to celebrate it. If anyone corrected me, I'd say, "Thank you," and really mean it. Because that was one less mistake I had to make tomorrow. Gradually, my fear of being judged went away. I began to say things like, "He goes to school." Someone would say, "He goes." And I'd say, "Oh, right. Thank you. I am very excited." One person might say, "You mean excited." And I'd be like, I confuse these so often. Got it now." Instead of shame, I felt joy. Instead of humiliation, I became stronger. So the worse I messed up, the more I got corrected. And each correction only made my English stronger, not weaker. Here's what I want you to recognize in your bones. The path to fluency isn't straight. It's messy, replete with small mistakes and beautiful lessons. And guess what? Even native speakers make mistakes. All the time. They say the wrong thing, forget words, and mix grammar. It happens. Because that's what actual speaking is like. So why, as learners, should we expect to be anything different? We shouldn't. This is something I've started doing. I made a mistake notebook. Each time someone corrected me in a kind-hearted way, I would jot it down. Not as an assignment, simply as a memory. And every time I would look at that notebook, I'd feel pride. Not ashamed, proud. Because it showed my journey. Each error is a step up the ladder. Every correction is a gift. The magic happens when you stop trying to get everything right and you start aiming to be understood. And when you learn to do that, when you talk even when you're not perfect, you'll realize something incredible. No one cares about your grammar. They care about your message, your smile, your effort, your courage. So the next time you screw up, smile. Say thank you, learn from it, and keep going. For your mistakes are not your weakness, they are your strength. Ready for the next step? Let's go deeper in Chapter 3. I quit translating in my head. There was a time when all the English sentences I uttered in my mother tongue. First of all, I'd think in my language, so I would then try to translate every word in my head. And then, slowly, I would say something. And let me tell you something. That was exhausting. It was like a burden on my back. Each time someone asked me an innocuous question like, "What do you like to do?" I'd freeze for a moment, crawl into the recesses of my brain, construct the sentence in my own language, fish out the English words, and then say something along the lines of, "I like watch movie," and it didn't feel good. It didn't feel real. I felt like a robot reciting a script that had been mangled. I knew what I wanted to say, but it didn't go over smoothly. It was a slow leak with uncertainty and hesitation. And there were times when, as I translated, that moment would slip by, and I would say nothing. That's when I realized I had to stop thinking in my head. But how? I didn't know at first. It seemed impossible. I did not grow up speaking English. Naturally, I had to translate, yeah? But I began observing something that was surprising me. When I listened to videos in English, very simple ones, I could hear complete sentences without needing to translate word for word. My brain began to make links between ideas and emotions, not just strings of words. For instance, when someone used to say, "I'm tired today," I didn't immediately stop and think, what is the word for tired in my language? I just felt what they meant. And that, readers, was the start of something fantastic. So I started trying to think in English, not perfectly, but naturally. What I found is that I began with 1 or 2 simple sentences a day. Wake up in the morning and think to myself, "I feel tired." I would make tea and think, "That water is hot." I'd peek out and say, "Sunny today." Very tiny, very simple, very far from firm. No pressure. Just everyday thoughts, in English. And it started working. I'll never forget the splash of connection. It was one evening at dusk as I was walking outside. The sky was pink. The air was quiet. And without thinking, a sentence came to me. Tonight feels peaceful. I didn't translate it. I didn't prepare it. It just came. That one instant, that little sentence, brought a grin to my face. Because it was mine. Not from a book, not from a script. It was a genuine English thought, generated right inside me. And I thought, this is the true way. This is fluency. So I made it a habit. Every day I worked on doing more things in English, not only saying them, but also putting them in my head. The way I would express my behavior is how I did it, like, I am brushing my teeth. I'm cutting vegetables. I'm feeling cold. These were not big English sentences, but they were powerful. Why? Because they didn't have to be translated. They were real. They were alive. And the more I thought in English, the faster I spoke. I didn't have to pause to search for words. Weighed down as they felt, I no longer noticed that heavy bag on my back. I started feeling lighter, freer. Now, of course, in the beginning I screwed that up. I still didn't learn every word. Sometimes I'd be stuck. I wanted to say something like, I'm feeling a little uncomfortable, but I didn't know the word uncomfortable. Then I could just say, I don't feel good. And that was okay. That is something really important that I want to tell you. You do not need the perfect word. You just need a clear idea. And don't wait until you discover the precise word in your dictionary. Say what you can. Use the English you have. Make it simple. Make it natural. And gradually, your English thoughts will grow, just like a little plant inside your mind. Here's something that really helped me. I visually used photos. I quit staring at the listed bilingual word. Rather, I noticed the pictures of English words. Example, a photo of a cat and the word cat. A facial expression with a smile and the word happy. No translation, just English plus image, English plus feeling. In this way, my brain began to learn directly in English. No middle language, just a straight connection. I even began employing an English-to-English dictionary for simple words. For instance, I looked up hungry, and the dictionary said wanting food. That was easy. That made sense. I didn't even have to go to my first language. And bit by bit, my mind relaxed, more natural. You know, thinking in English is like learning to swim. The water is strange at first. You move slowly, you're scared. But if you're in the water every day, you begin to float. You begin to move. You begin to trust. And one day, suddenly, you swim without it. And one day, you're speaking without having to translate, and it feels beautiful. So please, don't be afraid. Don't wait for the perfect translation. Don't try to sound like a book. Speak like yourself, even if the sentences are short, even if they are simple. That's when the fluency kicks in. Because fluency is not the same as perfect grammar. Fluency is flow, and flow comes when you quit translating. That's how I started thinking in English, and from the moment I did, everything got easier. My speaking, my confidence, and my sense of being in touch with English. So now it's your turn. Start today. Think one tiny thought in English. Tell yourself one plain sentence. It may be odd at first, but I promise, eventually, it becomes home. Are you ready to go deeper? Then let's get on to Chapter 4. Chapter 4. I saw real English in real life. I used to think English existed purely on the pages of books. You know, textbooks, grammar charts, long lists of words. That's what I figured I would have to study in order to be fluent. And for a time, that's what I did. I memorized irregular verbs. I made an effort to know every rule that the grammar style was teaching. I would say memorized book dialogues like, "Hello, how do you do?" and "I'm fine, thank you, and you?" But something felt wrong. I wasn't hearing that kind of English in my everyday life. Not in movies, not in YouTube videos, not in songs. Real people didn't say, "How do you do?" They were yelling like, "What are you doing?" or "You good?" or "No worries." I was confused. Was this even English? Yes, it was. And now I realize the truth. Textbook English isn't the only English. Real English exists beyond the books. That blew everything for me. One day I was watching an English short vlog. A girl was only talking about her day. Nothing special. She said something like, "I let myself sleep in this morning and spent a lazy breakfast just chilling." There was so much life in that single sentence. So much flow. I paused the video, rewound it, played it again, and I muttered to myself, "I slept in this morning, had a lazy breakfast, just chilled." It felt so real, so simple, so natural. And that's when I realized something crucial. If I wanted to speak real English, I had to recognize real English in real life. So I began to pay attention. I began paying close attention to everything around me, not only for English lessons, but for the everyday things. Songs, series, podcasts, interviews, Instagram reels, and even background voices in movies. I wasn't concerned if I didn't know every word. I did not bother with the meaning, the message. I focused on the feeling, the sound, the rhythm. And guess what I noticed? Folks lived on common short words all the time, saying things such as, "I'm going to the cooler for coffee." "You nailed it." "That's kinda cool." "No big deal. Hang on a sec." These entries were nowhere to be found in my grammar book, but they were gold. This was the English I wished to speak. This was the English that spoke like a human. So I set myself a little rule. Every day I have to learn an English phrase I heard in real life somewhere in the world. Occasionally I picked up a new phrase from a vlog, sometimes from a song, sometimes from a movie. I carried a small notebook and I called it my Real English Diary. In that journal, I noted anything that was genuine, low-key, and natural. So I heard one time someone say in a podcast, "Let's play it by ear." I didn't get it at first. What does playing have to do with ears? But then I looked it up. It was shorthand for "let's figure things out in real time." No fixed plan, just see what happens. I love that. And then the magic moment, the spike moment, I will never forget. I was texting in English with a new friend from a foreign land. Zooming is what we were attempting to organize. I wasn't sure about my availability, so I wrote, "Let's play it by ear." And she replied, "Wow, that sounds so natural." I smiled so hard, I felt like I was flying. That one colloquial expression, borrowed from a podcast, made me sound assertive, fluent, relaxed, and all I did was listen, learn, and try it. That's the joy of picking up on true English. You don't just study, you absorb. You don't just memorize, you feel the language. So I did this every day. When I watched a program, it wasn't just for entertainment. I watched like a student. I heard how they said, "I don't know," not "I do not know." It was, "Dunno." I listened to the way people said yes, Not just yes, but yep, yeah, uh-huh. And I found that tone transformed everything, like how really can read as surprised, excited, indignant, or even sarcastic, depending on the voice. I even began watching simple vlogs with English subtitles, just to understand how the words corresponded to the voice. And I read them aloud. I wasn't aiming to be perfect. I was trying to be real. And some amazing thing occurred. I started feeling English, not just learning it, feeling it. Just the flow, the pause, the music of it. It became part of me, and slowly I spoke differently. I quit sounding like a textbook. I began speaking like a guy who was real. Now, you know what? Let us be very clear here, my friend. If you want to speak real English, don't just live in the grammar books. Step into the real world. Listen like a child. Imitate like an actor. Learn like a traveler. Because English is not a curriculum subject. It's a living language, and it's all around you. Songs, films, Instagram captions, advertisements, YouTube comments, podcasts, and informal videos. English is hiding in its own shadow. All it takes is to listen with open ears. Discover one genuine English sentence today. Just one. Say it out loud. Use it in a sentence. Test it out in conversation tomorrow. That's how proficiency is constructed. Brick by brick, phrase by phrase. You don't have to move to an English-speaking country. The English-speaking world can be in your cell phone, your earbuds, your eyes, and your heart. It lived in mine. And when I did, everything got more fun, more real, and more beautiful. Now, let's delve into the continuation of the journey. Chapter 5. I practiced speaking, not just thinking. Chapter 5. I spoke practice, not just thought it. For a while I thought I was learning English. I really believed it. I was listening to videos in English every day. In between, I read subtitles, scribbled down new words, and translated tiny stories. My notebook was full. My mind was busy. But there was a big catch. I wasn't speaking. My tongue was quiet. My mouth didn't move. I was thinking in English, and I wasn't using it. And that created an interesting feeling as we offended people instead. I knew the words. I understood the grammar. But when I opened my mouth to say it, I found that I could not speak. Or when it did, the doing felt slow, awkward, and painful. It was as if I had the English in my mind, but I didn't have it in my body. And one day, I asked myself a very simple question. If I don't open my mouth, how will I ever speak with ease? That was a turning point. Because here's the thing that really hit me between the eyes. Thinking isn't saying. And if I really wanted to learn English, I had to speak. And out loud. So I began. At first, it was weird. I felt awkward. I felt shy. What kind of drugs did I do before my interview, sitting in my room all by myself talking to the mirror like, "My name is Anwar. I am drinking tea." It sounded so basic, so small, but it was a beginning. I started describing my day, out loud. I would be walking around saying, "I'm brushing my teeth. I feel sleepy. I need to charge my phone. I'm making breakfast. I just love the smell of cardamom." I wasn't sitting there waiting for someone to talk to me. I was a speaking partner to myself. And gradually, my tongue is starting to come back to life. Every day, I added more. More emotions, more thoughts, more straightforward tales. Today, I felt lazy, or it was easy to get up, or I'm more tired than usual, but I still want to know English. I'm proud of that. Or I watched a funny video. It made me laugh. I'm starting to enjoy learning English. None of these were complete sentences. They didn't have big words, but they were mine. They were real, and they helped me to feel connected to English. Then I discovered this gorgeous thing that transformed everything for me: shadowing. You probably don't know what shadowing is, so let me just very simply explain it. You grab an English video, perhaps a movie scene, a YouTube video, or a podcast, and you echo what the other person says, out loud, almost at the same time, like you're their shadow. You mimic their rhythm, their pace, their register. It feels like music. You become part of the sound. When I first meddled with it, I was watching a vlogger talk about her morning routine. I stopped after each sentence and put it down. I woke up late. I made some coffee. I didn't feel like working. I echoed all of it back to her in her voice, in her style, and I felt as if I was finally in the language, no longer on the outside, looking in. Shadow practice became my favorite. I did it every day, sometimes for 5 minutes, sometimes for 10, and each time my speaking got smoother. Then I did something brave. I pressed record on my phone and began to speak. No script, no plan. I just said what I felt. Hi, I'm Anwar. I'm learning English. I'm nervous, but I want to say it better, so I'm practicing today. I spoke for 2 minutes. Then I stopped. I didn't listen to it immediately. I waited a few hours. That night, I popped open the play button, and what I heard shocked me. It was not perfect. It had pauses, mistakes, but it was me, using real English. That was my spike moment, a big one, because I heard English for the first time when I spoke. I realized I can do this. It was no longer a dream. It was a small, real success. And that's what kept me going. I started doing that more. Recording myself once a day, discussing my day, my thoughts, and my goals. On other occasions, I would say, today was a boring day. I didn't do much, but I still feel okay. Occasionally, I would tell them, one day I want to travel. I'd like to meet people and speak English with confidence, and the more I talked, the more I could do it. The fear was in the process of melting away. My mouth's silence began to thaw. I also had some fun. I faked a phone call. I would walk around the room holding my phone and say things like, "Hey, how are you? Yeah, I'm good, just chilling." Or, "I finally saw that movie you suggested. It was amazing." I would smile, laugh, and sometimes gesture. I was practicing for things I wanted to do in real life, and it was all, every little bit of that, making me a better, faster, more natural speaker. So I want to tell you this, from the bottom of my heart: don't keep the English locked in your head. Let it come out. Speak it. Whisper it. Record it. Act it out. Just use it. It's not really about knowing, after all. That's at issue. It's about doing, and no one can do it for you. but you can, for yourself, one sentence at a time, even if it feels silly, even if it feels strange. That's okay. Keep this in mind. Your tongue learns to speak by speaking. Confidence is a muscle that gets stronger with use. So carry on. Talk to yourself, speak to the mirror, address your phone. But don't hold your breath for the perfect opportunity, the perfect word, the perfect grammar. Just speak, and you'll begin to experience that magic I experienced, the magic of turning silent thoughts into spoken power. And so, my lovely comrades, I invite you to the next chapter. Chapter 6. I let go of the fear of judgment. Chapter 6. I created my own world of speaking. Now let me tell you something private. England wasn't my home country growing up. I had no foreign friends. I didn't attend a language institute. I didn't even speak English at home. Like a lot of you, I was a solo learner. But I wished to talk in English. I wanted it badly. I hoped to be able to express myself freely with ease in conversation. I didn't want to sit back and be quiet anymore, afraid of saying the wrong thing. And I didn't want to wait for the perfect time or the perfect teacher to come around. I was tired of waiting. So I made a decision. If I couldn't go into an English world, I would create one for myself. And I did. I made my little quiet room my own English room, a safe place, a creative place, a space for me to express myself openly and to make mistakes and do better. No judgment, no pressure, just me and the language I was learning to cherish. I started simple. Every single day, I conversed with my mirror. It became my favorite habit. I'd turn on the television and stand in front of it and pretend that I was talking to somebody. Occasionally, I would say, "Hi, how are you? I'm learning English. It's hard, but I'm improving." Sometimes I would talk about my emotions. I feel tired today, but I don't want to miss practice. Even 10 minutes is enough. And guess what the beautiful thing is? My mirror has never laughed at me. It never said, "You are wrong." It just listened. And slowly, I began to have confidence in my own voice. Then I threw in something different. Pretend talks. I would just walk in a circle in my room and pretend to be talking to a friend, a teacher, or a random person. I'd say things like, "Hey, long time no see. How's your job going?" Or, "I'm sorry I didn't hear. Can you say that again?" Sometimes, I even wrote entire tales. I was at the airport, or in a coffee shop, or holding a conversation with someone over video call. I acted it out. I used my hands. I laughed. I made expressions. I spoke with emotion. It felt silly at first, but it made me alive in English. The other beautiful thing that I came up with was what I call my spoken diary. Every night before bed, I would take my phone, open the voice recorder, and speak for 2 or 3 minutes. I didn't care about grammar. I didn't plan my words. I simply reported on my day. Today was good. I finished my work early. I watched an English video. I jotted down a new expression. Hang in there. I liked it. These voice notes became fragments of my English narrative. I didn't show them to anyone. They were just for me. But every couple of weeks, I'd return and listen, and I could hear the progress. the shift in my confidence, my flow, my tone. I sounded more natural, more comfortable, more me. And so my favorite part of the day, my English walks. I went for a solitary walk each night. No headphones, no distractions, just me and my thoughts, in English. The sky's pink, I'd think. It looks peaceful. Or, I'm a bit tired today, but I've been happy with myself. I'm learning. I'm trying. Sometimes I whispered. Some of the time my lips moved, but no sound came out. But my thoughts were no longer in my mother tongue. They were in English, and that changed everything. See, when you first start to think in English, really think in English, your speaking becomes automatic, natural, free. And then one day, something amazing happened. I was at a cafe. A foreign tourist entered, looking perplexed. He approached the counter to ask for assistance, but the server couldn't understand him. I saw it all happen. I felt my heart rate pick up. And then, I stood up. I walked over. I smiled. And I was like, "Hi, can I help you? Are you searching for something?" I smiled in return and said, "Yes, please. I just want to see if this place has Wi-Fi." I smiled wider and answered, "They sure do. You can inquire at the counter for the password." We chatted for a minute or two. Just simple words. Nothing fancy. But here is what shocked me. I wasn't afraid. I didn't freeze. I didn't overthink. I just spoke. Calmly. Naturally. As if it were the most normal thing in the world. And I sat down, and I had this kind of quiet joy within me. As if something huge had shifted. Forever. All that behind the closed door stuff. The mirror talks, the pretend phone calls, the walking thoughts when you talk to yourself. Those built the strength. This modest, quiet, burning confidence. I had created my own speaking universe, and it worked. So, dear readers and friends, here is what I want to share with you, with all my heart. You don't have to be around English speakers. You don't have to live in a foreign country. You certainly don't need a pristine environment. You can create your own. In your room, in your mind, in your phone, in your heart. Make English part of your world, your everyday, your downtime, and your small habits. Because if you do build that world, then speaking comes naturally. And that's the real point. Not perfection, but connection. You are not simply studying English. You are now becoming a person who lives it. So please, keep building, keep speaking, keep believing. You are not alone. You are not silly. You are getting larger, day by day. But that, my friend, is the loveliest journey of all. So, my lovely friends, that was my journey from silence to speaking, not perfectly, but honestly. And I want you to remember this deep in your heart. You don't have to be perfect. You need to be real. You are literally expanding and evolving every time you open your mouth and press play. Every word, every pause, every tiny mistake. It's all part of the magic. Your turn. What's one small step you'll take today to speak more naturally? Let me know in the comments. I read them all. If this video gave you any hope, confidence, or just a tiny little smile, hit that like button. Pass it on to a friend who could use this reminder. And if you want more videos like this, full of love, truth, and real English, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Let's continue to grow, learn, and talk together. I'm so proud of you, and I will see you in the next video.